Hey there, it's Dr. JOYLYN Sparkles, and welcome to your Power Hour. This is your time to put what's on your mind, on my mind, and we'll put our heads and hearts together, and we'll find a way to go from stuck to happy as fuck in as short amount of time as possible, okay? And today is a real treat because whether you know it or not, and you didn't until I'm just about to inform you, that I totally scrapped the previous outline that I had because it seemed a little bit boring. And this one came through instead. And it's been a few, I'm just getting this up on the screen, a few client interactions have really sort of brought this up and then sort of reflecting on some of the things that have been going on here. And happy National or International Women's Day. Yeah. So something that's always on our mind is about being sexy. And we're in the Northern Hemisphere here moving into spring. So yeah, swimsuits are out again. So it's about time, I guess, if it ever stopped. But to think about feeling good about ourselves, how we look, how we are, bringing sexy back. And when I talk about this, as you may think, I got my beginnings as a relationship coach, and a lot of when we think about sexy, it's about what does someone else think about me? Do other people think I'm sexy? And as we're going to find out, that's about the number one way to stop being sexy right there, because you go out the window and it's all about what somebody else thinks about you. So before I get too far ahead of what I just wrote, when I'm talking about bringing sexy back, first of all, to know what is sexy, there's a lot of ways that people will define it, but it's really always coming back to a feeling. It's a feeling of confidence. You know, the person that's the sexiest isn't necessarily the thinnest, the fittest, or the best dressed. It's the person who's the most comfortable in their own skin. It's the one who just shows up and has just such a solid sense of self that their presence pervades and permeates the room, and they're the dominating energy without being overbearing or obnoxious. It's just that somehow in some way your attention gets drawn to them and they have this attractive quality to them. So what is it when you're in that space, if you've ever been in that space, because some of us, it's been such a long time, but you know that when you're actually feeling sexy, it's when you're actually being you, totally you, where you're tapped into you and you've got this feeling of aliveness and you have an interest in what you're talking about and there's enthusiasm and you aren't threatened by other people. You invite them in and they become part of the thing. Meanwhile, never abdicating or neglecting your own position. It's actually just a very inclusive atmosphere. Sexy is fun. And it's when we're being happy and truly, truly ourselves, undiluted. And like I said at the very beginning, where we sometimes lose it is when we start to live in our head and become concerned about what other people are thinking about us, and we start almost becoming our own evaluators and living ourselves like we're watching ourselves live our life. We watch ourselves interact with people. We watch us move, us eat, and think and look at ourselves from an outside perspective. That may or may not resonate with some people. That might not be your experience or how trauma has impacted or affected you, but that's one of the things too, I'll just throw in, that comes with healing, is there is less living watching yourself live. It's more about being embodied and actually living and staying safe here, and then the more and more will actually come out of our head and embody and take up all of our body space. And that's actually when we become the sexiest, is when other people aren't our focus. Their evaluation and even our own evaluation, when we become outside evaluators, we even lose our energy that way. But instead of watching or observing and evaluating and judging ourselves, it's when we're just so present and in the moment that we become attractive, because that's what presence does. So sexiness is really a level of presence and aliveness, in all honesty. And there are different ways of getting there and achieving it, because exercise, nutrition, and wearing clothes that fit properly, that are colors that make our features pop and get us to notice ourselves and pay more attention to ourselves, those are ways that we can be sexier and perceived as sexy. But really, it's about how we feel inside. So when I'm talking about bringing sexy back, it's how do I get back here? How do I get back to me? How do I get this feeling of aliveness? And one of the things, the natural questions then is, well, where did sexy go? If I gotta bring it back, where did it go? And where it went, if you will look back at some of the old power hours, I talked about boundaries, and I talk about sometimes it being a hole in the boat, where it's insecurity that just lets our energy seep away, and it's insecurities, and one of the big insecurities is wondering about what other people are thinking about us, and even becoming that observer, evaluator, judge, critic of ourselves, and watching ourselves live life instead of living life. And so the short answer to where did sexy go is, I don't know. It's a little bit different for each person, and it will have a slightly different bend on the origin of the trauma, the programming, the job, or the role. Because a lot of us leave ourselves and leave our aliveness and leave our sexiness when we become a parent, because parents aren't sexy, right? No offense, parents, but our parents weren't, or I didn't think of them that way. So that a lot of people are like, I'm not a parent, but then when they become parents, it's like we have to box ourselves in, and we can't have that kind of energy or attraction. Or it might be a job where it's unprofessional to walk around being so confident in yourself like that, as if being confident somehow means that you're inappropriate. But we have these sort of world views and pairings that we bought and picked up from early on. So it's going to be a little bit different from everybody where they came from. But the short answer, though, then is that's where it came from. Old, way old, probably wasn't ours even, like we learned that shit. And then the most important thing to notice is, well, it doesn't even really matter where it went. It's not here. So really, how do we get it back? How do we bring sexy back? Okay. And one of the things too is, well, if you're curious, if you don't know for yourself, how do I know if sexy's here or not? Well, I'll tell you the one thing that we know for sure, that I know for sure, of how I know sexy isn't here and I'm not attractive and being my full self, is I get serious as fuck. Everything means something. Everything is significant. Something somebody says, how they look at me, if they were late. Last week I was meeting with a friend and she was late and I felt disrespected and I was a little bit irritated and miffed. And everything means something. And let me tell you, the universe works in synchronicity, so sometimes there's like a, whoa, that's crazy. That comes after the epiphany, when the dots connect, and then there's like a wow experience. Okay, that's one thing. It's the, oh, my middle initial matches the same last initial of this person's first name, and it's the 4th day of the 8th month, and numerologically that's 5. Like, and we try to come up with that stuff before. Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying everything means something, and it's all meaningful, but it's really like Beautiful Mind, kind of, you're just wrapped in string and maybe. But all the meanwhile, you're really looking for the meaning, and so you're super serious. And I'm reading here, Emma says, I feel sexy and confident, but struggling with my guy feeling sexy. He's having a midlife crisis. Any tips for this? Yeah, have him watch this, because this applies. Even though it's National Women's Day and we're the ones talking and having this little chit chat, this is for him, because this is what we've all learned how to do, is how to abandon ourselves and delude ourselves so that we fit in, so that we measure up. So that we don't stand out, so that maybe we don't make somebody feel bad. A lot of us actually knew we were freaking magical, but may have picked up somewhere that made somebody else uneasy. And because we're loving and caring beings, we didn't want that, so we turned our volume down. You know, we turned that sunshine down. But then after doing that for so long, it's, well, how do you get that back? Well, we're talking about where'd it go, and the reason we know that it's gone is because we're serious AF, okay? And you'll also notice that when we get serious, we're not smiling as much, we're not laughing as much, we tend to walk a little bit hunched over, and, you know, even sometimes I'll do this, you know, like game face, like this is serious shit, like I am in it, okay? this matters to me. And our language will change. It'll be a lot about have tos, must tos, got tos, and I can't handle this. I can't stand this. I can't. And we'll notice if you kind of tune in to what you're saying, it's the language of obligation and impossibility, okay? That isn't sexy. Just in case, that's a PSA in case you hadn't noticed. And sometimes it's hard to catch in ourselves, but notice if you start to judge other people of, wow, you like got to stick up your ass, or, you know, oh, taking that a little bit too seriously, and how it isn't pleasant to be around and how it's not attractive or inviting. The same will happen when we do that, because inevitably we'll do that at some point, sometime, because we got triggered, because we fell into habits. So it's not about just judging and being like, I can never do it. It's just recognizing, oh, there's a serious face. Oh, I've gotten a unibrow. Oh, I've got my frown lines on, you know, and recognizing those. Hey, when's the last time I laughed? When's the last time I danced or sang? When is the last time I smiled at a stranger? And you just start to notice and be like, oh, maybe it's time to bring sexy back, okay? Because it's also that the whole serious thing, it doesn't work. Because whatever it is that made sexy go away, being serious about it isn't going to bring it back. And it doesn't fix the thing that makes it go away. It's actually just more of a push energy. So if we're getting serious about our trauma, and let me tell you, trauma sucks. And I will never, ever, ever make a joke about yours or mine. But I also will never, ever, ever let it be the entirety of me or your reality, so that there will be some lightness to it. Okay, that's not the same. But getting really serious about it and burdened by it and feeling that you can't handle it, because let me tell you, you did. You're here. You've handled it. Okay, so now maybe it's time to be a little less serious about it, set it down, and think about what else is possible. Okay, same with childhood programming, any type of abuse. It's not that their laughing matters, but we also don't have to hold it with such gravity, because it's getting heavy. And do you know what happens if you ever like held something in your hand and it's heavy, and then somebody asks you a question, you just want to bite their head off, even though it was, hey, like, what time is it? Do I look like I can look at my watch at this time? Yeah, not a pretty face, not sexy. So the heaviness is actually making us a little less attractive. So maybe let's just perhaps think about setting it down, okay? Because really, when we're talking about sexiness and attractiveness, here's a big, big opener. Being inviting, smiling, reassuring someone else that their humanity is acceptable here, just like we'd like to have seen, that is your biggest opener. That's where any type of sexiness or attraction is going to start, is being like, she looks nice. He looks like somebody I could talk to. That person looks safe to be around. That is where we can at least start, okay? So, then, also, with the serious and like the heaviness, you might also notice with your language of obligation and impossibility, and I say yours because I'm talking to you, I do it too, still from time to time, just much less. There's celebration here. But that when we get into that, you will find too that with that seriousness and that need to fix, and I've got to get sexy back. It's not I'm going to bring it back, it's I got to get it back. Oh my God, where did it go? And we get all serious about it. That there's generally lots of controlling, and we'll try to make sure everything's in its place so that we don't get triggered, so that sexy won't go away again, and then it becomes a real fragile and delicate time bomb situation. Or that there's a lot of you need to do this so that I can be okay. And again, that's a power dynamic and a power exchange that will never support or sustain sexiness. And it's really, and then we start to, when we do these kind of things, we're in beta brainwave patterns. That's the stress state when we're in low beta. And then what we normally think of as sexy is what we look like in an evaluation from the outside, to where then we start wondering, what are other people thinking? How do I stack and measure up against these other people? Am I sexier? Do I look as good as her? And here's how I thought that we outgrew this, but nothing happens just by product of time alone. It has to be by intention, because I literally heard a story in, what was it, January? Where a woman, a grown woman, a professional, successful, like really rich person, she was invited to a wedding of a friend's daughter's wedding, and it was, I have to look the best. I have to have the sparkliest ring. I have to be the thinnest. And the people that were telling me the story, we all had the same reaction of, why? Who's looking at you? They're going to be looking at the bride. This is and that level of functioning, that level of competition is actually a big mark of insecurity, to where even if she gets positively evaluated, oh, you look so good. Oh, you have the sparkliest ring. Oh my God, you're the sexiest. Even if somebody used the word, she wouldn't feel it inside, because it's all about somebody else and a competition or evaluation, And so that's where, to bring sexy back, it's about getting our energy back. It's about being alive again and interested in ourselves again, and really becoming childlike again, which sounds weird because we don't put sexy and children together, and that's definitely a weird sort of pairing. But the thing that children have is just an enthusiasm for being alive. I don't really care what people think. I'm going to make this sound, blow these bubbles, wear stripes and plaid together, because I'm just experimenting with life and who I am. I'm not defined as who I am yet, so I can be anybody, so let me play with this. And it's an element of just aliveness, which is why kids can be fun to be around. And if they're actually annoying as fuck to you, like if you don't like being around kids, it might be because you've turned that off so dynamically that ends up feeling like friction and noise to you. So it's sexy isn't about romance. It's about aliveness. It's about confidence and being curious about who you are. So that is the how to bring sexy back. It's not going to be diet. It's not going to be exercise. It's not going to be a specific color or cut of clothing. Those things, like I said, can help and might work into it, but it will never be those alone, because that's outside of you, so it can never replace that security that you're trying to establish inside of you. So if you want, and here's how anything can help. It can also change the game, because if you actually just want to play with this, and you can, because we've all actually done it and just unintentionally, but if you want to chase sexy away, like if you want it to go away, make your diet or your exercise or your colors or clothing, make it a rule. Make it a rule. I have to do this, and if I don't do this, I'm okay. And instantly, you will want to resist it, so you'll break your diet, you'll come off your workout, whatever. And all of a sudden, you just won't look that great in that color, because it actually isn't a match for that day, for the sunshine, for your mood, for your hormonal level, and these pants are too tight, and I can wear them on the first end of my cycle, but not the second half of my cycle. Like, it just cuts out awareness at all. When you make rules, you cut out awareness, you cut out aliveness, okay? Rules are guidelines. They are not hard and fast. Otherwise, you get boxed in and you're infinite, and there's not an infinite being on this planet that likes fitting in a box, okay? So keep that in mind. But if you do want to bring sexy back, you have to invite it back. You can't force it. And if you do, it won't want to stay, and the attitude will change. You can only invite sexy back, and the way to do that is to lighten up. Lighten up, because sexy is about being light and alive and fun. Those are the most attractive people and the most fun to be around, the ones that have the it factor. I don't know what it is. You can ask anybody. I don't know what it is, but you've got that thing. They're alive. They're embodied. They're actually fully present. That's what it is. And it's never going to come through being serious about it and trying to fix anything that's broken. It's just about, as soon as you notice it's gone, ask for it to come back. And so you'll notice it comes back, and you can invite it back. Here's what I love. You can use it in both ways. You'll notice it's gone, and you can invite it back, and you'll also notice that it's here when we're smiling more, when we're laughing more often, when we're humming or whistling or dancing or singing spontaneously, when we stand up straighter and we'll walk taller. Our breath will actually come lower down into our body because we're standing up straighter. There won't be a sense of rules. It's not going to be a language of obligation and possibility. It's not about we have to. It's about recognizing here's what I want and here's how I get it. So I want to feel fit. I want to feel strong. I want these pants to fit all the whole month. So I eat this, I don't eat that, and I do this set of movement. Easy. It's not about having to, and it's not about how somebody else is going to think that I look, or they're going to think that I'm lazy, or I'm going to think that I'm lazy. It's just, here's what I want, so this is what I do because I love me. So my action's going to match my desire. I'm going to give myself that. It becomes a language of love instead of a language of obligation. And then we become more and more internally referenced, connecting continually with our desires. I like positive attention. I like getting, when I see my partner, catch me out of the corner of his eye. I like when, he gives me a little pinch or a tap when I walk by. I like those things. And I notice that happens more when I'm smiling, when I'm laughing, and when I'm feeling better about my body, which isn't coming from getting the attention. It's I'm feeling better in my body because I'm doing these things. So I continue to do those things so I can continue to feel good in my body. You see how it's the attitude changes. Anything can be done in love or out of love. Sexiness comes from when everything is an act of love and aliveness and being present with it. It doesn't always mean we like every minute of it, but it becomes something that is easier to do. We get carried by our desire, we get magnetized and interested in our own life to where we start to recognize it's not about getting positive evaluation from somebody. We like how we feel on the inside, and then the positive evaluation comes. It's actually flip-flop of what we've been taught and what we paired it, because they'll come so close together often. I'm feeling really good. Somehow I got a whistle, or I'm feeling really good and I got a smile from the grocery store clerk when the last time I was in and I was all, she gave me that. And I thought it was she was rude, so I was rude, but really it was I didn't feel good and I had that energy, so that's what came back to me. Our internal, as within, so without, that's the law of the universe. And so if we're going to bring sexy back, it's got to be inside first, then we'll start getting reflections outside. And it's really a matter of getting interested, curious, and enlivened by our own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and doings. Okay? So how? How then? How do we do this? Okay, that's kind of the theoretical overview of how. And it's really about becoming playful and curious. And with those, we can get better at them with practice, because we all came in knowing how to do it, but got sort of trained or traumatized out of it. But that doesn't have to be a big deal. All we recognize is, yeah, I got super serious and life wasn't very fun. So I want it to be fun again, and I want to feel good and comfortable in my own skin and be that commanding presence in the room and know that I'm going to be okay and it's actually fun living. How do I do that? You practice. You just find somebody that's doing it and you practice. So here's 3 ways that you can do it. Number 1, the Happiness Clinic. It's all of my coaching programs, okay? The 90-day relationship remodel, the 6-week Get Unstuck and Happy as Fuck challenge, happiness brain training, love yourselves. We've got happy hour and fun labs coming up. Like, the names alone are fun, okay? So if you need to know how to have fun, how do I get back to myself? Well, we can remodel the relationship you have with yourself. We can get you out of stuck to happy as fuck, because we know serious to playful will move us from one to the other. Happiness brain training is going to get our synapses to fire in a different way, and instead of focusing on what's wrong and what's bad and what's missing, we start looking at what we'd like to have. So it's a continual reconnection with our desires and moving towards that and reprioritizing things. And Love Yourselves is about how to do all of those things and live in a body and bring these things into the body and get more of a connection with the body so you can be an enlivened, embodied presence. And the Happy Fun Lab, those are actually where we're learning to play, because if you feel like you're super serious and kids annoy the crap out of you, you're not the only one. I used to be that way too, but now I'm having so much fun with my 8-year-old niece, coloring, playing Legos, and it's not a pretending that it's fine. It's not just a get through it, looking at my watch and checking my phone. It's I'm actually having fun and we're actually playing together, so I can actually teach people how to do this, because it's just practice. We just got out of practice, that's all. So definitely, if this is something you're interested in bringing sexy back, check me out, the Happiness Clinic, and go to the services and we can schedule a call for clarity. We'll have a talk, see what fits, okay? Second, if you're going to get tapped into curiosity, ask a question. Fastest way is to ask a question. Now, I have talked in Love Yourselves, and this is where you'll get the most of that information, so this might be a program you're interested in. We'll start again enrollment in April. But I talked about broken questions. So don't ask about what's wrong and how to fix things. Ask, how do I want to show up? How do I help things go right? What do I like about myself? What is fun? Ask about what you want to have more of, not what you want to have less of, okay? But tapping back into curiosity by asking a question. And then being more playful and light with things as far as taking the significance and serious out of the situation so that some levity, humor, and creativity can come back into the situation. And if you actually have no clue about this because you're in a job that's so analytical, you feel like your energy is just tapped out and you have demands coming everywhere to where you just feel stressed out, that's where getting a coach, getting into a happiness clinic program can help. But also ask your spirit team for help. This is where we can start tapping into divine, and prayers aren't just for making ends meet or miracles when you've got absolutely no other option. It's when you legitimately want to know how to do something that you don't know how to do. They're infinite. You're still connected to them. Ask them for help. To where you can even be, whether it's your spirit team, angels, universe, God, Jesus, Buddha, whoever it is that you're calling on to help, the energy's there. And as soon as you ask, it will be given to you. You can even just ask, show me something fun. Show me something good about myself. Show me, and here's for a lot of us that are, yeah, I want to do this, but I don't have any idea how, and nobody in my life has ever done this, so what do I do? Ask for an example. And if you're looking for somebody who's having fun, hey, hi, I'm right in front of you. Look at it, the universe answered a prayer that you didn't even know you asked. So there are people, and I'm not the only one, who actually have made it a goal and objective to find their way back to themselves and can then help you do the same in a shorter amount of time. Because really, we got big things to do. There is so much creativity, and not just big problems to solve, but new inventions and creations to be birthed that can only come through you. So we need your sexy here. And I want to be part of bringing that back for you so that I can see what amazeball thing you're going to bring to the planet. It's probably more than one thing because you're probably very multi-talented. And if you're an overthinker, you've got lots of ideas and you have a great imagination. It's just been tuned into fixing and problem solving because we thought that was the only way to make money. And hey, that made us super serious and boring and our sexy went away. So now it's time to bring that back. So if I can help in any way, I'm here. Check out the Happiness Clinic, ihappentothings.com/services, and you can see a little bit more about each of the programs. And then ask your spirit team, because Power Hour is here. This is a free resource available. Get a call to clarity. We'll have a conversation. That's free. And if I'm not a match, I might be able to help you, pair you with a book or another coach that might be a better fit. Or Facebook, algorithms, it listens. I don't know how, because of divine intervention. Somebody else might pop up, a different modality or a different speaker, something. It is there for you if it's what you want. Your heart's desire, you planted there, and so it is meant to be fulfilled, so that if you ask for help in how to fulfill it, you're going to start noticing new things popping up, okay? And little by little, the sexy is going to come back, and the twinkle in your eye, and the swagger in your step, and the radiant glow, and here's what you might get first. Did you cut your hair? Nope, just being a badass, but thanks for noticing. My hair's the same, you know? Or you're just going to start smiling and laughing for no reason, start singing a song. You might even notice that you start changing what you're tuning into on the radio or TV, being like, oh, this is a downer. I'm going to start having more uppers. It might naturally be like, oh, I don't feel good when I eat French fries and pizza. I actually think I'm just going to get grilled chicken, and it's not going to be from a should or a have to. It's going to be like, who is this person who's ordering grilled chicken and saying no to cookies? Not that that's a rule on what you have to do, but you just might notice, you're going to notice you're making different choices when you're operating from your lit up self. It's fun. It's way more fun on this side of things. I would love to be part of this for you, so let me know if and how I can help. Because bringing sexy back is not just about what you look like. It's about how you feel inside, and it's never, ever, ever gonna come from something that somebody else said. This is 100% coming from you and reconnecting with yourself and being lit up by life. And that is sexy as hell, okay? So go out there, be amazing, and practice being sexy. It might be something that you're just not used to and you haven't known yourself as. So just start getting curious about what you as sexy would look like. Because again, it's not about the clothes you wear. It's just about the energy that you're being. And so get curious about what that might be for you, and also get curious about what does playful and fun look like for me, because it doesn't have to be what it looks like for somebody else, because it's all going to be about you, because you are the most interesting person in your universe, and you are the reason you came. And when you connect with that, there is just a coherent resonance that becomes so magnetic and attractive that you can't help but be sexy. So there you are, bringing sexy back. That is your Power Hour, and I wrapped it up in 33 minutes. I'm doing better here, and I didn't introduce a whole smattering of new information there at the end. So bringing sexy back, here's your how-to. Watch this as many times as needed to get this in. Like and share. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where it is if you aren't able to join live sometimes, although the replay is always available. And until next week, I love you so much. Have a great one. Mwah.